Hello, my name is David Webb and this is a video for Dweebovision. I am a Scrabble grandmaster and in this video I am going to play Scrabble while providing in-game commentary on my moves. Hopefully this will help to improve your game and be fun to watch. The game has just started, so let's join the action. It's me to go first. I don't have a bingo, I do have the X. So I'm looking to see how I can score. I could play Yex for 26 points, but the rack leave of HIRU is not great. It would be nice to get rid of the U. I could do that by playing Zoo, XU. But is there any other way of getting rid of the U? I don't have the D for Druxy. I don't mind if the H stays on my rack. But HIUR is not a great leave. If I had an A, I'd have Hyrax. Now I could play Zoo. Actually, that would be 18 points. Compared to 26, I'd be dropping 6 points. Actually, I like Zoo. It's got defensive value. My opponent can't score hugely off it. It doesn't take an S. And although I don't like keeping the H and the Y, I'm not going to get into any difficulty. I should have scoring opportunities with this move regardless of what I pick out of the bag. And this isn't a bad set of letters. I don't have a bingo, but I ought to be able to resolve the rack quite well. F, H and Y go well together. There's far, there's fey, there's yar and hey. So plenty of possibilities. And there's also the two-letter word FY. XU doesn't take a letter at the beginning or the end, so my opponent is going to have to play parallel to it. And in so doing, he's not going to reach a double word square or a triple word square. I do have the IFY suffix, but I don't think any floater is going to give me an 8-letter bingo. My priority is to play off the F and the Y because they're the non-bingo-y tiles. And I can do that quite nicely there for 20 points. It's not a great score, but it's a pretty good rack leave. The only thing wrong with the rack leave is the slight vowel consonant imbalance. So is there anything I can do about that? I don't have any tiles which go underneath UM, but all three of my high scoring tiles can go above it. Well, this isn't great, but it does have defensive value. I'm not providing good opportunities for my opponent. Now, do I have a bingo? Well, I think there are several 8-letter bingos through the right floater. At the moment there are no floaters on this board. I would have unhaired and horient through a D or a T. I need to be sure that there isn't a 7. I don't think there is. No, I can't see one. This is a really tight board. There's really no opportunities at all on it at the moment. There is a bingo lane in row F immediately above the Y. And there are a couple of other opportunities on the board, but it's a very restricted board. Sometimes boards just start out like that. It certainly wasn't my intention to have a really tight board, but if you don't have a bingo yourself, you don't want to provide your opponent with easy scoring opportunities, whether via a bingo or a high scoring move. Just trying to think what other floaters would give me an 8-letter bingo. I'm sure there are several. I do have the un prefix, but unhaired is the only one I can see. Etchy urine is good, so I'd have that through a C. I don't think that has any anagrams. Okay, there goes the first blank, and I do have several floaters. I have 3, in fact, the P, the L and the Y. I'm sure there's nothing through the I. So do I have something through the P? Gosh, it feels like I may. Can't see it. What about the L? Inhauler. Great, I do have a bingo. It's nice to come straight back with a bingo when your opponent plays one. Inhauler's a tricky word, and it's a word I've missed before, and I having missed it before, I thought about and investigated why that might be, and I suspect the reason is that inhaul is not good. Inhauler exists, and it appears to be an agent noun related to inhaul, but it isn't. I believe that's the case anyway, but I am sure of inhauler. Can't see anything through the Y. Inhauler's not great in the sense that it ends one square short of a double word square, but if it's the only bingo available, I will have no compunction in playing it. So the only consideration is, do I have something through the P? And I'm wondering why this is bugging me. I'm thinking it's because there is a bingo through that letter. Well, I've thought about it and I can't recall it to mind. If there is one, it's likely to be significantly better than inhauler, both in terms of score and in terms of opportunities provided to my opponent. Inhauler is good for my opponent. It gives him first shot at making a high score in row H onto the triple word square at H15, and also first shot at pluralizing inhauler. One advantage of providing 2 opportunities is that he can't take both. Now, I don't have a great rack. I do have the S for pluralizing inhauler, but I have no high-scoring tiles, so I'm not sure that I can score very well. I could play Aeons at M9. Now that's 36 points. Actually, that's not bad. Not a great lead, AO, so maybe I can do a bit better than that. Well, I can't see anything better than that. Well, ANOAS is much better. ANOAS. EO is a much better leave than AO. But I don't think I can play off 6 tiles. There are some 8-letter words with 5 vowels. I'm just wondering if this set of 5 vowels contributes to any such bingos. I think it does. But I can't remember them, and on this board the only floaters are the P and the R. So just considering those floaters with my rack, I don't think I have an 8-letter bingo. My opponent is using slightly more time than I am. That might suggest he's a good player. He's got a higher rating than me on this website. Yeah, that was one of the risks of playing in Hauler. Can't use the K to give effect. So a Noah's for 36. And I draw the G and the W, which is not good for bingo prospects. I've also got 4 vowels, which is a slight imbalance. My opponent doesn't have a great deal of opportunities. There are bingo lanes in row L and N. He's currently 4 points ahead, but a bingo now would be really good for him because I'm not in a position where I can respond in kind. I'm looking in row L above a Noah's to see if I can play through to L15. I could place my W, G or M above the O, but that would force me to place an E on top of the A. So I could play merge or germ. Unfortunately, neither of those use the W, and that's the least bingo-y of my high-scoring tiles. Well, worm, W-O-R-M. That would leave double E-G-I, which is not a good leave. And it's only 27 points, which isn't that great. Mower. I've got mower, and that's better because the rack leave is G-I-E. That goes at L9. That's over 30 points. Now if that's taken, what else is available? Well, it is taken. My opponent scores 50 points for Trez. My immediate thought is to see if I can play down from the Z onto the triple word square at O15. And I don't think I can. I need to be absolutely sure of that because it would be an expensive miss if I overlook such a play. Yeah, I just can't see anything. Either beginning with Z or with the E or the O in front of the Z. That's a shame. Especially as the spot I had identified for Moa has been taken. Now looking at the score, I'm 50 points behind, so a blocked board isn't good for me. I like the fact that there are bingo lanes available in rows L and N, so I'd like to develop the top of the board, and the easiest way of doing that is to play down column 12. And because the Z is providing such a hot spot, I don't need to worry about opening up row A. So it'd be nice to play down from A12 with either my M or my W on A12. But I think that's going to be problematic. Yep, I can't see a way of doing that. This rack really would benefit from a floater, so playing down in column 12 or 14 is tough because I'm looking to make a word from my rack. Well, there is a word I can play, but it doesn't develop the board. This is what I'm looking at. One advantage of this move is that it clears out a lot of my non-bingo-y tiles. It's 25 points, which is not a bad score given the letters that I have. MY doesn't take anything in front, so it's really closing down the top of the board, but I think that's probably only temporary because the double word square above the W is likely to be taken. If it's not taken by my opponent, I can develop it and open the top of the board. Now I could play mowing instead of mewing. That would leave me with double E rather than EO. Probably not a great deal in it, but I think I will retain the distinct vowels. This doesn't look too bad. There isn't a bingo there. And, well, it's a balance of consonants and vowels, so I ought to be able to play my way through it. But my opponent has now established a 70-point lead, so he is a bingo ahead of me. Now the problem I have with developing the top of the board is that if I create an opportunity, my opponent can close it down and score well. Also, it's not easy to develop an opportunity. I can't really play parallel to mewing. Just checking that there isn't a 7-letter bingo here, and by checking I mean checking inside my own mind. I have no reference books or aids. But I can't see a 7. There are no floaters. Well, there is the S of Zags, but the bingo I have is localise, and I don't think localise has any anagrams. But it's good that that S is there. It provides another scoring opportunity. And through a T I would have localite and teocali. Wow, I'm just wondering if there is an anagram of localise. I don't think there is. Okay, so what to do? There's plenty of bingo lanes at the bottom of the board. I'm going to leave them untouched. One advantage of playing cowl down here is that it takes an S in front. So a bingo lane for bingos ending in S is always good. Downside of this is that I'm keeping 3 vowels, and that really does inhibit my bingo prospects. So let's put these tiles back on my rack. Maybe there's something better. Well, what about allo? CEIL is a much better rack leave. The score is not good, only 14 points. But I'm looking to come back with a bingo. And this does provide a floating A and a floating L. So I am developing the top of the board. And I'm also providing a nice spot at A12 to play down and score and open up the top of the board even more. What I don't like about this move is it's really low score, but I don't think I can do anything about that. Dialect, citadel, edictal, and deltaic. Now, some of them definitely go in row L, N, and O. Citadels and citadel go in all 3 rows. Citadels is unblocked. Okay. Do I have anything else onto the S? Certainly that's the highest scoring row. So the 4 anagrams were citadel, deltaic, dialect, citadel, deltaic, dialect, and edictal. Okay, none of them score more than citadels. And in fact they score less, because this puts the... there was only one other which went, but it didn't score as much as citadels. Great, 89 points. And I note that my opponent only got 8 points for ditto. So I am right back in this now. I have a 20-point lead. I have changed on my rack, and there's an anagram of that which is ganched. But this board is completely blocked. The only floaters are the A and the L of allow. It'll be quite significant what my opponent's next play is. Only 15 points, that's good. Means I'd retain the lead. So can I score well? Well, I'm sure I can through the A of allow. I could play change or changed. Probably quite good to play change and hold back the D for next go. But AD is not a bad leave anyway, so I'm sacrificing 4 points in order to keep the D back for playing down column 15. And 30 points is pretty good. The disadvantage of that is that a lot of tiles go after change D, R and S, and if my opponent plays in row 15, he's getting all of the points from change, as well as for his own score. And if he places an R after change, he could put a high scoring letter at D15. I think I've just talked myself into playing changed. I draw the Q, which isn't great. There are 2 U's unseen, so there are 2 on the board. Neither of those is available to me. I do have QAT as a short Q word, a U-less Q word, and that plays at K4 using the T of ditto. My opponent may be drawn to A15. If he hasn't got great tiles, that may disappear for a mediocre score. I have a 43-point lead. So what else have I got? It's certainly a priority playing off this Q. This is a fairly tight board, not a tight board. You don't want to be stuck with a tile like the Q, and it's almost always good practice to get rid of it as soon as possible anyway. Great, only 12 points for my opponent. He seems to be opening the board up, but I can close that down really nicely with cat across here. Q is not a great floater, and 28 points is a good score. Peel isn't a great lead, but the priority is playing off the Q. That looks good. I'm close to N people. I would need another E, and unfortunately I've just taken out the E of F. Don't think I have any 7-letter bingos, and even if I did, I don't think there's any bingo lanes for a 7-letter bingo. A15 is probably the only hot spot on the board at the moment. I could play Peepo at N2 and Joe. 25 points. It's not great. It does enable my opponent to score in row O. but I think my opponent needs a big score to catch up. So if we're just trading similar scores, that's fine. Now there's also a hotspot in column 3 because F takes various letters in front and they can play through the A of cat. So that is actually a bingo lane. I need to consider if I have a bingo through that A, and I don't think I do. But I could certainly play through it. I could play... Well, I'm looking to see if I can play both P's. Well, plap is good, but I wouldn't play that because I'd be keeping EENO, and that is a really poor rack leave. Well, I suspect there are other words. Let's see if that spot stays open. Do I have anything at A15 through the D of changed? Well, nothing's jumping out at me. I'd certainly want to play off one of the P's. And I don't think I have. Pod is clearly available, but that's very low scoring. 18 points. So looking at the tiles that are left, well, quite a bingo-y bunch. Most of the high-scoring tiles have gone. All of the 4 really high-scoring ones have been played. There are 2 V's out there. Hopefully they will find their way onto my opponent's rack, although they can be useful for scoring. So I could play plain at J3, and that would be quite nice in that it's not opening up column 2 because not many letters go in front of P. £21 points that would be. I do have people on my rack, but it's only a 6-letter word. Wow, that is a bold move by my opponent. I'm certainly going to be playing through the T. I can't leave an opportunity as good as that available for my opponents. So what can I play through the T? I don't think I've got anything on or through the I. Well, plenipode makes non-words. So I haven't got anything ending in the I. I've got less than 5 minutes now, so I don't have a great deal of time. Polt is good. It'd be nice to play off both P's just because of the score. Topple is good, but unfortunately doesn't hit the triple word squares at A8 and A15. N-topple is not good, unfortunately. Peloton. Yeah, that's good. Peloton. Keeps the P back for score. 27 points, burns 6 tiles, which is good. I want to expedite the end of the game. I'm ahead. Doesn't provide any great opportunities for my opponent. And having wished the V's onto my opponent, I'm rewarded with them myself. Verve is on my rack. And that plays at B1. And it also plays in row D. So the V's are not going to be a real problem for me. This is a sort of rack it would be irksome to have at the beginning of a game, but towards the end of the game, when you've got an 80-point lead, this is fine. The only downside of this rack is look at the tiles that are left. They're a really bingo-y bunch, and row D is a bingo lane. So I'd be inclined to play in row D myself, because I think if I do, that takes out the row D bingo lane and the column 5 bingo lane. But will I get the opportunity? 11 tiles left in the bag, 7 on my opponent's rack. So if my opponent bingos, he will leave 4 in the bag. I think that's good, but I am... Whoa, should I check that? Should I check it? That could be significant if I do, because I'm only 11 points ahead, so if I challenge this, then I go down to 6 points ahead, and I'm pretty sure it's good, so I'm going to leave it. Oh well, I shall regret that at my leisure. So, what can I do now? There's a lot of vowels in the bag. I'm 11 points ahead. I've only got 3 minutes on the clock, and I'm looking to score. I don't think there's anywhere I can play verve. And I've got perv as well. Oh well, there is, of course there is. Now, I am emptying the bag here. But I like the score of verve, and up is not a bad leave. And I quite like providing another opening on the board. And also I've got the U to go after the Q for score. The only danger is if my opponent has a really big score through the V of verve, but looking at the tiles that were left, I thought that was unlikely. Now I am 37 points ahead. My opponent has no high-scoring tiles. I ought to be able to see this through, I think. But I don't have a great rack. There's nothing jumping out at me through the V of verve or the D of changed. I do have quop for 30 points through the Q of cats, which is good. That would leave BOR, and I'm sure I can go out with that in more than one place. But one of the problems with emptying the bag is that my opponent can now plan to go out in 2, so I may only have 1 shot at scoring. And my opponent has got the U, the final U, so he could play through cat himself, so he could play quid. Yeah, well, he's probably got several possibilities. I've only got 2.5 minutes on my clock, so I need to plan my own move. Can't see anything at all through the V. Okay, so I'm now looking at the D of changed. I can play bod. Pewdor is good. 27 points, that's good. That would leave BO. I think this is going to be quite a tight finish. But unless I'm missing something, I think I ought to be able to hang on. Let's see, my opponent has only got 3 minutes on his clock. I've got 2.5 on mine, so this game is going to come to a fairly rapid conclusion. Great, my opponent does not take the Q out. Let's just see if this looks like it's a winning play. So quop 30 points. At the moment I am 7 points in front, so I'd be 37 in front. My opponent would get 10 from count back, so he'd need to score 27 to draw with IORU. That is not going to happen. Now, having said I can play out in several spots with boar, I haven't looked for any. I'm just confident. So J2, I can play boar and E2, so I am indeed going out. I'm not sure if my opponent can go out. No, he can't. So I can play boar here. I've got just under 2 minutes. So I do have a little bit of time to see if I can find a better play. That's 14 points. Now there are several anagrams of boar. There's bro and there's orb. So I need to consider all of these. So that's 14. Let's just see what bro scores. $18, that's a little better. So anything better than 18. Nothing through the D I've changed. Can I put anything in front of F? I can put the R in front to make reft. But that doesn't work. Oh well, we'll find out very soon if there's a better play, but bro is the best I can see. So I'm just waiting for my opponent to formally end the game, which he does. And the final score was 396 to my opponent, 435 to me, so a winning margin of 39 points. That was quite a close game. I did have the edge, but my opponent coming back into it with Kenners with a slightly better pickup, he could have put more pressure on me at the end. That didn't happen, but let's see what I missed. Ooh, look at that. Peloton is invalid. I'm surprised. I know Peloton is good. It's clearly must be spelt differently. Oh well, I got away with that. It's not a good feeling to get away with a phony. I mean, it is in one sense, but in another sense it's not, because it means that your word knowledge is slightly flaky, and that could cost you in a later game. Right, this was my opening rack, and Yex and Hex were the possibilities, but I think Zoo was fine. Well, several longer words, but I think the rack leave justified the shorter word. Inhauler was the only bingo. Anoa's looks like it was best. This was a tricky rack. Meow at N9, I didn't consider that. It would have opened up row O, so that's not great. I think mewing is fine. Great, I didn't miss a bingo here. Difficult to distinguish between these moves. The best moves on here, the highest scoring moves, score about 10 more than Allo, but have much worse rack leaves. And it was the rack leave which enabled me to bingo this go, and Citadel's was the highest scoring play. Hand job, that's nice. M1. Yup, 40 points. I didn't consider that. Changed for 34 is pretty good second choice, I think. Now here, J2 for cat. Ooh, well that's a miss. I played it underneath F. I could have played it above. So that cost me 6 points, and yeah, that was a miss. I should have spotted that. And here, when I played Peloton, I could have played Peptone or Epopped. Both of those would have been nice, but I got away with Peloton. This is when I played Verve, and that looks like it's fine. I'm going through this far too quickly to be confident that when I say a move is fine, that it's definitely best, but I'm just saying on a very quick look that it looks like it's okay and that there's nothing obviously better. Quap, that was my play. And then finally, I could have got 23 points for Rob at c5, so making Pern on and B. So that would have made me 5 extra points. Well, I hope you enjoyed watching that game. I think there were a number of interesting spots. The board started off very tight, and certainly the play of Allo was significant. I took a big score sacrifice in order to keep the best possible leave. On this occasion it was rewarded, and I think that emphasises just how important rack leave is. So I hope you enjoyed that game. My name's David Webb, and this has been a video for Dweebovision.